The cruise mistakes everyone makes and the cruise line that changed everything. We're talking hidden costs, rookie mistakes, why your cheap cruise might actually be expensive, and the cruise line that said, what if cruising didn't have to feel like a floating buffet from 1997? Plus, later in the show, the mistake almost every first-time cruiser makes, my hot take on drink packages, and why some people are accidentally booking the wrong cruise entirely. Welcome to the second episode of Talk Travel with Samantha, sponsored by Fabulous Adventures Travel, the show where we help you travel smarter, vacation harder, and avoid vacation disasters before they happen. I'm Samantha, your travel insider, cruise addict, and professional overpacker. Just don't tell anyone about the professional overpacker part. And this week we are diving headfirst into one of my favorite topics, cruising. I love it. I love cruising. All right, let's talk travel. Let's talk about the biggest mistakes people make. Mistake number one, booking only based on price. I cannot tell you the amount of people that come to me and say, oh my gosh, I saw this cruise for $3.99, and they lose all common sense. They're like, look how cheap this is. And I'm like, no. That's not cheap, my friends. It's cheap to start, but then you haven't added on the gratuities, the Wi-Fi, the drink packages, the excursions, specialty dining, and suddenly that cheap cruise costs more than a luxury vacation. The cruise wasn't cheap. The advertisement was. That's the biggest mistake. Please, for the love of everything, don't just look at the price. Many cruise lines now have these different levels where you can actually have a base price. Then the next level's up. It includes a drink package and Wi-Fi, or it includes drink package Wi-Fi and excursions, or drink package Wi-Fi and gratuities. Look at that, because that's where it's going to become all-inclusive for you and make you say, okay, this is what I'm actually paying out of pocket. It's not the $3.99. This is the actual price, because I promise you that $3.99 is going to be somewhere in the range of, $1,000 to $2,000. $1,000 is me being nice, but there's no cruises for $3.99. And if they are, they're not there. I promise. I don't even want to finish that sentence. So mistake number two, picking the wrong cruise line. This is one of the biggest ones. Not every cruise line is for everybody. Just like I say, not every travel agent is created equal. Not every cruise line is created equal. And that is because it's a personality fit. Some are family chaos, some are party ships, some are luxury floating country clubs, and some are so boring you're in bed by 5 p.m. That might be good for some people, being in bed by 5 p.m. They're going to have, early dinner and then in bed. That's not everyone's personality, right? That's not everyone's jam. That's not everyone's vibe. So you have to match the cruise line to your personality. So again, number one, which is picking a cruise line that's super cheap, right? And then that cruise line may not have the same vibe or personality that you want. Mistake number three, booking the cheapest cabin. All right, listen, I get it. You want to get on a cruise. You want to just get on an insider if you're going to do that, because you're like, yep, this is the cheapest cabin. I want in. But listen, interior cabins are fine until you realize you're claustrophobic. Your spouse snores, and you don't know if it's 3 a.m. or Tuesday. I'm not even kidding you. It is so dark in those, because of the fact that there's obviously no windows, that you're like, why did I book this cabin? I don't know if it's 10 a.m., if I missed breakfast at the buffet, or if I missed dinner at this point. So the interior cabin sometimes isn't the best. So just really, really think about that when you think about booking it. And hey, I know a ton of people that will tell me they will never sail any other way because the interior cabin is dark. There's no lights. They get the best sleep of their lives. The interior cabins are usually in the middle of the ship, so that now, they're feeling less movement. They're also not on the best floors because of the fact that they stick them usually on the bottom floors or in the middle of the ship in some of the mid decks, which is a really nice location. So a lot of people love an interior cabin, but if that's not your jam or your vibe, please know that you better really think about that, because booking the cheapest cabin isn't always the best. Does it get you on the cruise? Yes, but it may get you 7 nights of hell when you're like, I didn't realize I was claustrophobic, or I didn't like not being able to see light unless I turn the light on. Mistake number 4, flying in the same day. I cannot tell you the amount of clients that fly in the same day. Do you want to risk it? Sure. By all means, fly in the same day if that's your deal, because you don't want to pay for the hotel room. But what I always tell my clients if they do that is to make sure that they get insurance, because you just never know. I've also saved many a people that have missed their flights and missed the boat. So I have done a lot of emergency saving on those. So I will say that my number 4 is flying in the same day. And I have to say that I highly recommend don't do it. Don't save because you want to save on the hotel. I mean, for the love of everything, stay at the Motel 6. Not that I want you to, but rather you fly in the day before than the day of. This is how vacations become documentaries, and one delayed flight and suddenly your cruise is leaving without you. So always fly in at least one day early, 1000%. Or like I said, get some insurance. And we'll talk about that in another episode. So let's talk about the cruise line that changed everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. For years, the cruise industry followed the same formula: buffets, casinos, formal nights, announcements every 6 minutes, photographers attacking you at dinner, and then enter the cruise line that came in and basically said, what if we made cruising actually cool again? Enter Virgin Voyages. Love them or hate them, you cannot deny this. Virgin Voyages completely disrupted the cruise industry. Did you know I was going to say that? Have you even heard of Virgin Voyages? If you haven't, you're missing out. I promise you this. If you are 35 and above, not to, dog on anyone that might be younger listening to this, this is your cruise line. Why is it your cruise line? Because you either are in the thick of it with children at this point, or you don't have children anymore and you don't want kids on your cruise, but you also don't want to spend all the money on a luxury cruise line like Ritz-Carlton, or which by the way does have kids, which will be minimal as we all know, or, Seabourn or something like that. You want to not spend your entire retirement or upcoming retirement on a cruise. This is the cruise line. Virgin Voyages is the cruise line. Because why? They have no littles, no kids. They said adults only, and they're proud of it and they love it. And suddenly millennials and Gen X travelers who swore they'd never cruise again started paying attention as soon as they said that. The other thing that they did was they got rid of the giant buffet. Let me tell you something about a giant buffet. I do not like buffets. I love cruising, but buffets might be my absolute worst. I can't stand, because I've seen many children go and use their hands to grab things, and adults alike, which always makes me so happy when I see adults just use their hands grabbing the muffins out of the basket or something. I'm like, there are tongs for that. What is happening? Have you lost all sense of respect and everything else? Like, come on, use the tongs. So I can't stand buffets. And I'm going to tell you my worst buffet story. So Royal Caribbean has this Mexican food restaurant called El Loco Fresh. And it's a small restaurant. It's free. It's not a specialty dining. And it's usually on higher decks. It's up there near the Windjammer, but not the Windjammer. It's its own entity. Anywho, you go through and you get Mexican food. So they've got quesadillas and tacos and nachos and whatever it is that you want. But then there's a condiment station where they have guacamole and sour cream and cheese and lettuce, all the things that you want to add on to your choices of Mexican food that you just went through the line for. Well, I'm waiting to go and grab some guacamole, and this woman takes the spoon out of the guac and, obviously puts some on her plate. She scoops them on her plate. Well, it doesn't all come off the spoon. So she takes her finger and she pushes the guacamole off the serving spoon onto the plate. And I nearly die. I left my food there and just walked away, and I just swore off buffets for the rest of my life. So hence the reason why I've fallen in love with Virgin is because I don't have to deal with women taking their finger and scooping the guacamole off the spoon. I was dead. So no giant buffets at Virgin. Back to Virgin. They replaced giant buffet madness, which is what I'd like to call it, with made-to-order eateries. It feels more like a boutique hotel and less cafeteria warfare, or like I like to call it, is cafeteria chaos. So The other reason why they changed the industry is they included specialty dining. So it's not your main dining room dining. It is specialty dining. So it's no upcharge. They do not charge extra. And it's these restaurants that they have that are dedicated to specific cuisines. So they have a Mexican restaurant, they have an Italian restaurant, they have a steak restaurant, they have Korean barbecue, they have a really culinary forward restaurant called Test Kitchen, and they also have Razzle Dazzle, which has its own moments on each ship. Where I'm going with this is that it's included dining. There's no upcharge for the specialty restaurants. So that changed expectations industry-wide because they're not charging for the restaurants, and there's no main dining room. You're not sitting at the same table. You're sitting at different tables each time. The modern design. They made the ship look more like Instagram had a baby with a luxury hotel. So it's like a yacht. They styled it like a yacht versus a big mega ship. This is more of a mid-sized ship. Virgin ships are mid-sized versus mega. So you're not going on there. There's not 60,000 water slides because, of course, there's no kids. The pool isn't massive because, of course, there's no kids. You know, adults don't really swim, let's be honest. I mean, we swim, but not on a cruise ship. And we kind of just stand there and drink and talk to the person next to us and get to meet them. But that's what happens on Virgin, is that when there's no kids involved, you do actually meet people, which is the coolest thing. But back to the modern design. The modern design is completely different in terms of everything is upscale and nice. The cabins have an iPad that controls everything. Everything is just modern, and the ships have only been built in the last 4 years, if I'm quoting that correctly. The other thing that is different is that entertainment changed. So there's no cheesy cruise director screaming, "Who's ready to party?" Virgin lead into immersive nightlife and modern entertainment instead. So they do not have a cruise director. They actually have a happenings cast, which changes everything. And the other thing that I really, really, really want to mention is the captain doesn't come on and make any announcements. He or she, I should say, welcomes you on board and says, "Whoa, we're so happy to have you on board, blah, 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 blah." And then that's it. If you hear from the captain again, you better go find your pills or whatever else they tell you in the muster drill, because we're going overboard. That's what's happening. And what do they tell you to grab too? They tell you to grab your warm clothes or something in your life jacket. So literally, that's it. I love it. There's no announcements from anybody, not the captain, not the cruise director, not anybody. And if they're making announcements, they're looking for somebody or there's an emergency. No joke. It's one of the coolest, most laid back cruises you'll ever go on. So personality talks, and honestly, Virgin figured out something huge. People don't just book destinations anymore. They book vibes, and that's the Virgin way. So cruise myths and hot takes. Wow, I should probably say that again because that's a hard word to say. Myths. Cruise myths and hot takes. So my hot take number 1, drink packages are not always worth it. Can I tell you, I feel like I've been ragging on Royal Caribbean this whole thing, and please know that I absolutely love Royal Caribbean, but I do want to chat about that for a second. Their drink packages are outrageous. They charge $80 a day plus tax and tip for a drink package. And you very rarely can find it cheaper than that. I remember back in the day, they used to be $60. And I think that was when we'd be like, that's a lot of money. Now I'd give anything for a $60 a day drink package, but $80 a day is a lot. People panic buy drink packages like it's a Costco apocalypse. You don't need 11 pina coladas a day to get your money's worth. So that's what tends to happen with these drink packages, right? You get on board and you say to yourself, how much does my favorite drink cost? Whatever it may be. Maybe it's pina coladas. I don't even like a pina colada. My choice is a martini or a Vesper martini. Those are my favorite. But what I was trying to say is that honestly, you get on board and you say to yourself, okay, how much are these drinks? Okay, let's say the martini or the pina colada is $14, right? So you're like, how many drinks does it take to make back my money? Well, at $14 a drink and you paid $80 or more, you've got to drink at least 6 drinks or more to win back your money, basically, or not win it back, but you know what I mean? Feel like you actually got your money's worth. So you have to be aware that if you can actually drink that much, then you probably need a drink package. Let's be honest. If you can drink that much, you have to drink 6 drinks or more total to get your money back. But by the end of the week, most people don't care. And that's what the cruise lines bank on. They bank on you by the end of the week being like, man, that was a long cruise. I'm done drinking. Can't drink anymore. And they're like, yes, we just made our monies back. So know that, really look at that drink package. Now, I know why people love it, because it makes it all-inclusive. And I agree with you on that. I think the all-inclusive aspect is amazing on that, because then you don't have to think about it. There's no bill at the end, right? You've already paid everything. You're not like shocked by the amount of alcohol you drank in the week. And you're not like panicked because you're like, what did I do to my liver? You should just wear the t-shirt that says, shut up, liver. You're fine. But that's my take on drink packages. I will, because we just talked about Virgin, discuss that Virgin doesn't have drink packages. They have a bar tab. And what the bar tab basically is exactly what it is, right? You kind of have to decide how much you're going to drink. And it still keeps it all inclusive, where you're not walking out with a massive tab. But if you go over the bar tab, then you start paying for drinks outright. It's not a big deal. But you can go in and say, okay, I'm only going to spend $500 on drinks this week, or I'm only going to spend, $300 on drinks this week. You can do that and know that this is what's all included. It doesn't have to be a drink package. And the other thing with the bar tab is you can buy around. Say you get to the end of the cruise and you're like, oh crap, I got money left over and I'm going to use it or lose it. So now you're like making best friends with everyone around at the bar, and you're like, all right, drinks on me. I got all kinds of bar tab left, and everyone's got shots all around. Now you're the guy that everybody likes. You're the guy. You're that guy. So that's my hot take on drink packages. I don't love it. My hot take number 2, bigger ships aren't always better. There is this big push for big ships, right? There's bigger ships, bigger, better. Bigger isn't better, right? Mega ships are amazing and they're so cool because it makes it feel like a floating city. If you have kids, this is the way to go. You will never see them. I'm not kidding when I tell you this. You will never see your children on a mega ship, on the Star of the Seas, the Icon of the Seas. You will never see your children because they'll be lost on a water slide, playing mini golf, going around and, on the merry-go-round. Like, you will never see them. And if that's how you want a vacation, by all means, I get it. Trust me, you vacation that way. But if you're sailing as adults only, my suggestion would not be the bigger ships. Some of them feel like you're trapped inside a floating shopping mall, right? It's like Mall of America on water, basically. So just make sure that sometimes these bigger ships aren't always better. I think they're better when we go back to when I said about the biggest mistakes people make when they're booking their first cruise. It's about personality and about vibe. They're better for certain people. They're not better for everyone. And they're not always better. Hot take number 3, cruise loyalty matters. If you cruise more than once, loyalty programs actually matter. People overlook this constantly. So, but I will say that a lot of my clients are very quick to tell me, if they're brand new to me, they're very quick to say to me, I am Crown and Anchor, I'm a Crown and Anchor member, because those perks are amazing, especially with Celebrity. Celebrity has some really great perks as well. They have a happy hour that they do at certain bars. If you're elite, don't quote me on this. This is going off of my brain. But I will say that Royal Caribbean has Diamond, where you get a certain number of drinks, and Diamond Plus, where you get a few more drinks for free each sailing. So, and each day you get that number of drinks. And I'm not quoting it because I don't know off the top of my head. But the cruise loyalty does matter because it does help you. So Virgin has a really good loyalty program. It does end after a certain time. They don't have any levels currently after the Deep Blue Extras because, let's be honest, they're brand new. And I think it's just kind of in development. But I will say that their cruise loyalty program really is great as well. Here's a myth that I kind of want to bust. Cruises are only for old people. This may have been true in 1998, but now cruises are exploding. Obviously, you can see that with the amount of advertisements that come out with different ships and different offers that they have, and all the different advertisements that come out, of course, show you that it's not for just old people anymore. I will say that certain lines, so we're going to go back to that same thing that we talked about earlier, where we're talking about vibe and personality and where you fit. You just need to know which line works for you, because you could make or break your cruise picking the wrong cruise line. I promise you that. And I don't want to hear that as a travel agent. I want to know that you picked the right cruise line, or that we helped you pick the right cruise line, because I want you to have the best vacation ever. So please make sure that you're checking out Vibes when you're looking. So for my final segment, I have been mentioning a lot about travel agents. I do want to talk about why travel agents matter again. This is the funny part. Technology was supposed to replace travel agents, with .com and AI, all of that stuff. Instead, cruising has become so complicated because I think it is so saturated that you really just can't decide where to go. Is it deal? Do I want to vibe? Do I want to have the best vacation? Do I want to have a luxury vacation? Do I want to be in the retreat? Do I want to be a mega rock star? Do I want to be in an interior cabin? That's what travel advisors are good for, and how we've become more valuable. Because Google can't tell you any of that. They can tell you about a vibe. They can kind of explain it, but Google's never been on it. AI's never been on it. ChatGPT has never been on Virgin. So I always say that when it's something completely new to you, go find a travel agent that is very, very knowledgeable in that destination that you want, in that product that you want, because they'll help tell you what ship fits personally for you, right? Fits your personality. What destination fits what you're looking for? Which cabin to avoid because of location. I can, honest to God, tell you every single cabin in Virgin, why you should stay in one and why you shouldn't, because I know that product so well. That's not the only product that I know well, but I'm just mentioning it. Which itinerary is overrated? I can also tell you where, it's kind of like, well, I don't know that I would do that again because this happened or that happened and I didn't love it. I will tell you that I love a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that I don't love as well. We can also tell you which cruise line secretly nickel and dimes you to death. There is definitely one out there, and you just got to be aware of it, right? But I would say most cruise lines kind of do that in a way. A good travel advisor saves you from making expensive mistakes, and that's what we're here for. And we're also free. I do not charge a single thing to book with me, and you do not pay extra. So my entire team at Fabulous Adventures Travel does not charge extra. We're actually free. But I want to close with, so before you book your next cruise, don't just look at price, look at value, look at experience, and most importantly, book the cruise and vacation you actually want. And if you've never cruised before, this might be your year to try it. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me on Talk Travel with Samantha, powered by Fabulous Adventures Travel. Visit us on talktravelswithsamantha.com and drop us a note or comment about cruising, anything. We want to hear it. We'll totally comment about it in the next episodes. Next episode, we're diving into Virgin Voyages and why you'll have FOMO if your friends sail and you don't. I'm Samantha, and this has been Talk Travel with Samantha, where we help you travel smarter, vacation harder, and with fewer regrettable buffet decisions. See you next episode.